Tonight, we have 3 quiet stories to share. 3 gentle journeys, touched by moonlight, by memory, and by the spaces where the visible world meets the unseen. Our first story begins in a village surrounded by reeds and pale marshland. In that village, there stands an old well. It is said that the well is not empty. On certain nights, when the wind forgets to move, a faint sound rises from below. Not water, not wind, but something softer, like the slow sweep of a broom across a floor no one can see. Let us begin. Many years ago, a widow named Madame Zoo lived beside that well. Her husband had been a quiet man, a repairer of tools, a mender of cracked bowls, a gentle presence in a small house. One winter, illness came like a thin shadow. At first, only a cough, then fever, then nights where his breathing grew shallow and distant. Madame Zoo stayed at his side. She boiled herbs. She prayed softly. She walked miles for medicine through cold wind. But illness does not always listen to devotion. One evening, as the sky dimmed to ash gray, her husband closed his eyes and did not open them again. The village mourned. The seasons continued. But Madame Zoo did not return to her former self. She sat by the window, facing the well. She listened. "He has gone to fetch medicine," she told the neighbors. "He will return when the road clears." Weeks passed. Months passed. She continued to wait. One summer evening, as cicadas hummed and the reeds swayed gently, Madame Zoo disappeared. Her door was open, her kettle still warm, her sandals placed neatly by her bed. Some believed she had thrown herself into the well. But when villagers looked, they found no body, no ripple, only darkness. Time moved on. The cottage remained empty, and the well stood untouched. Years later, a traveling doctor named Liang arrived in the village. He was observant, unhurried, a man who listened longer than he spoke. Despite warnings, he chose to stay in the abandoned cottage beside the well. On the second night, beneath a pale autumn moon, he heard it. Sweep, sweep, sweep. He lit a lantern and stepped outside. The sound rose steadily from the earth. Liang approached the well and looked down into its darkness. "Is someone there?" he asked gently. The sweeping stopped. Silence gathered. Then, from far below, a woman's voice drifted upward. Have you come home? Liang's heart stirred, but his voice remained calm. I am not the one you are waiting for. A pause. Softly, almost confused. Then you have the wrong house. The lantern flame trembled, and far below, a faint golden light began to glow.
Liang leaned closer. What he saw was not water. Deep beneath the well, there stood a small house. Its windows shone with warm light. Smoke curled gently from a narrow chimney. Inside, a woman moved slowly across the floor, holding a broom. Sweep, sweep, sweep. Madame Zhou, Liang called softly. She lifted her head. Though separated by impossible depth, her eyes seemed to meet his. You are late, she said gently. My husband will return soon. He went to fetch medicine. Liang swallowed. How long has he been gone? She thought carefully. Only since sunset. Above ground, 10 years had passed. Below, time had not moved at all. Liang understood. Grief had shaped this place. Memory had built these walls. Waiting had kept the lamp burning. Madame Zhou, he said quietly, does the fire warm you? She touched the stove. Her fingers lingered. It shines, she whispered, but it does not give heat. She looked around her small glowing room. For the first time, uncertainty flickered across her face. The bowls on the table were empty. The windows opened to endless dark. This is not my home, she breathed. It is a house built from longing, Liang replied. A house that protects you from loss. Tears formed in her eyes. He promised to return. And perhaps, Liang said gently, he has returned in ways you could not see. The golden walls began to shimmer. Madame Zhou's shoulders trembled. I am tired, she whispered. Liang placed incense beside the well. The smoke drifted downward like a thin silver thread. You may rest, he said softly. You have waited long enough. The house flickered. The table dissolved. The walls thinned. The light dimmed. Madame Zhou turned away from the door she had watched for so long. She lifted her gaze upward. If I let go, she asked faintly, does that mean I did not love him? No, Liang answered. It means your love is strong enough to release what it cannot hold. Her form grew lighter, and slowly, like mist touched by dawn, the house beneath the well faded into darkness. The sweeping stopped. The night grew still. From that evening forward, no sound ever rose from the well again. Yet something changed.
The water drawn from it became clear and cool, like mountain spring. Villagers drank it and said it tasted peaceful. Some whispered that sorrow, once released, can transform. And so the well remained, quiet, still, no longer a place of waiting, but a place where grief had finally found rest.
Tonight, another quiet story begins. Our story is called The Lantern in the Bamboo Grove. Let your thoughts grow still and listen. A deep sleep story, soft and unhurried. Imagine a small village in ancient China, resting between low hills and a slow, winding river. During the day, the village is simple. Children walk along narrow paths, their voices light and calm. Women gather by the water, washing cloth in the gentle current. Old men sit beneath wooden roofs, watching the day pass slowly. Life is quiet, peaceful, or so it seems. And when night falls, the light fades from the sky, the air grows cool, the voices disappear, doors close one by one. The village grows still. The river reflects the sky above, dark and calm. The hills stand in shadow. Nothing moves. At the edge of the village, there is a bamboo grove. Tall stalks rise close together, their leaves thin beneath the moonlight. When the wind passes through, they make a soft sound. Most nights, nothing happens there. The grove remains quiet, still, empty. But on certain nights, something changes. The air feels different. The silence grows deeper. And then, a light appears. At first, it is faint, easy to miss. Then slowly, it becomes clear. A lantern, floating among the bamboo. It does not move like an ordinary light. It does not follow the wind. It drifts slowly, as if something unseen is guiding it. The villagers speak of it in quiet voices. They speak only at night, when the doors are closed. Some say it is a spirit, lost, and searching for a way home. Others say it is a guide, a light meant for someone to follow. But no one goes into the grove at night. No one waits for the lantern, because those who follow are said not always to return. And so the village sleeps, while the bamboo grove remains, quiet and still beneath the night sky. In that quiet village, there lived a young man named Yuan. He was calm by nature and quiet in his daily life. He did not seek noise or crowds. He preferred simple routines and familiar paths. Each evening, after the day had ended, he would walk along the edge of the village. Not far, just enough to leave the last houses behind. He often followed the river. The water moved slowly beside him, soft and steady in the fading light. It was a habit he kept without thinking. And on most nights, nothing changed. The same path, the same quiet air, the same stillness waiting at the end of the day. But on one evening, something felt different. Yuan noticed it at once. At first, it was only a faint glow, far away and easy to mistake. He slowed his steps. The glow did not move like water. It did not flicker like a distant window. It remained steady, hidden among the bamboo. Yuan stopped. The path beneath his feet grew still. He looked toward the grove. The night had already settled there. Shadows gathered between the tall stalks. For a moment, he thought of turning back. There was nothing there for him, nothing he needed. And yet, he did not move. He continued to watch. The glow grew a little brighter, just enough to take shape. A lantern, small and pale beneath the rising moon. It did not hang from a branch. It did not rest upon the ground. It floated, moving slowly among the bamboo. Yuan felt no fear, only a quiet curiosity. The kind that comes when something feels unusual, but not unwelcome. He took a step forward. The sound was soft, barely enough to disturb the night. The lantern continued to move, unhurried, unaffected, as if it had not noticed him at all. For a moment, Yuan simply stood there. Then slowly, he stepped off the path and toward the grove. The bamboo stood close together, their shadows layered across the ground. The air inside felt cooler. The sounds of the village faded behind him. Each step carried him deeper. The lantern drifted ahead, always just beyond reach, never rushing, never stopping. Yuan followed. Not quickly, not with urgency, but with quiet patience, as if he understood. This was not something to chase, only something to follow. The leaves moved softly above him. A faint whisper passed through the grove, then faded again. The lantern continued forward, and Yuan walked after it, step by step, deeper into the bamboo, where the night grew still, and the world behind him slowly disappeared. The bamboo closed quietly around him. The path behind him faded from view. Only the narrow space ahead remained, lit by the soft glow of the lantern. Yuan walked slowly, each step careful and unhurried. The ground beneath his feet was cool. Dry leaves shifted softly as he passed. Above him, the tall stalks rose into shadow. Their leaves barely moved. The air felt deeper here, quieter, as if the world outside had been left behind. For a moment, Yuan wondered how far he had come. But the thought passed. There was no need to measure distance, only to follow. The lantern drifted ahead, its light steady, neither bright nor dim. It did not flicker. It did not fade. It simply moved as it had from the beginning. And then something changed. The lantern slowed, not suddenly, but enough to be noticed. Yuan came to a stop. The space around him felt still. Even the faint movement of leaves had quieted. For a moment, nothing happened. Then slowly, the lantern lowered, just a little, as if settling closer to the ground. Yuan watched without speaking, without stepping forward. The light softened. Its edges grew less clear, less defined, like something seen through a thin veil. The glow widened slightly, spreading into the air around it. Then, in a way that felt almost natural, the shape began to shift. Not with force, not with sudden change, but gently, like mist drifting across water. The lantern's form grew faint. The light remained, but its shape no longer held. Yuan stood still, his breath slow, his gaze steady. He did not turn away. Within the soft glow, something began to appear. A shape, at first unclear, then slowly becoming more certain. A figure, standing where the lantern had been. Still, quiet, unmoving. The light rested around it, soft as moonlight. Yuan did not step back. He did not speak. The moment felt calm, not frightening, only unfamiliar. The figure did not move. For a long while, they remained as they were. The night stretched quietly around them. At last, the figure lowered its head slightly. A small movement, gentle and deliberate. Then, a voice, soft, barely more than breath. You followed the light. Yuan listened. His expression did not change. I saw it, he said quietly. The air remained still. The figure lifted its head. Its features were not fully clear. Not yet. As if the light still held part of its form. But there was no sense of danger. Only a quiet presence. You were not meant to fear it, the voice said. Yuan did not answer at once. He simply stood and watched. Then slowly, he spoke again. I was not afraid. The leaves above them stirred once, then grew still. The light around the figure softened. The outline became a little clearer, more human, more certain, and yet not fully part of the world around it. For a long moment, nothing more was said. The night held its silence. The bamboo stood unmoving, and the quiet remained, deep and unbroken. The bamboo grove remained still. The quiet stretched gently between them. Yuan stood where he was, calm and unmoving. The figure before him did not step closer. It did not fade. It simply remained, as if it had always been there. The soft light around it settled, no longer shifting, no longer uncertain. For a moment, nothing changed. The night felt deep, endless, as if time itself had slowed. Yuan lowered his gaze slightly, not in fear, but in quiet understanding. There was no need to ask more, no need to follow further. Some things were not meant to be explained, only seen, only remembered. When he looked up again, the light had begun to soften, very slowly, almost too slowly to notice. The edges of the figure grew faint, less certain, like a reflection fading from still water. The air remained calm. The leaves did not move. And yet, the presence before him was growing lighter, more distant. The shape held for a moment longer. Then, like a quiet breath released into the night, it began to fade. Not suddenly, not completely, but gently, as though it had never belonged to the world around it. The light dimmed, the outline dissolved, until at last there was only the bamboo, still, silent, unchanged. Yuan did not move, not at once. He remained where he stood, his eyes resting on the empty space before him. The grove felt the same, and yet something within it had shifted, something quiet and difficult to name. After a long while, he turned, slowly. The path behind him was still there, narrow and familiar. He walked back the way he had come, step by step, unhurried, as the bamboo thinned around him. The air grew lighter. The sounds of the village slowly returned. A distant movement, a faint breeze, the quiet world he knew. When he reached the edge of the grove, he paused, just for a moment. Then he looked back. The bamboo stood as before, dark and still beneath the night sky. No light remained, no movement, nothing to show what he had seen. And yet, he did not doubt it. He turned again and continued toward the village. The river flowed beside him, soft and steady, just as it had before. The houses stood in silence, the doors closed, the night unchanged. Yuan returned to his home. He did not speak of what he had seen. He did not search for the light again. But sometimes, when the night was especially quiet and the air felt still, he would pause and listen, as if somewhere beyond the bamboo something remained, not calling, not waiting, only there. The night deepened, the village slept, and the quiet returned, soft and complete. For our final story tonight, we follow a narrow mountain pass where fog settles thick at dusk, and even familiar paths lose their shape. There, it is said, an inn sometimes appears, not marked on any map, not remembered clearly by morning. An inn that offers warmth to travelers, carrying something too heavy to continue. Let us walk into the mist. Late in autumn, a merchant named Seto crossed the mountain road alone. Mist rolled low along the stones, curling around his boots and clinging to his sleeves. He had traveled for many years. He had earned silver. He had built a name. Yet his steps felt heavier with each passing season. As dusk fell, the road blurred into pale gray. His horse slowed, then stopped. Seto tugged the reins gently. The animal would not move. Then, ahead, a soft red glow appeared. A lantern, and beneath it, the outline of a small inn. Warm light filtered through wooden windows. The door stood slightly open, as if expecting him. Seto hesitated. He had crossed this pass many times. There had never been an inn here before. But the cold deepened, and the mist pressed close. So he stepped forward and entered. Inside, the air was warm. A quiet stove glowed softly. A kettle steamed. Behind the counter stood an innkeeper. Ordinary robe, ordinary face. And yet, when Seto tried to remember his features, they slipped from memory like a fading dream. "You look weary," the innkeeper said gently. "I lost the road," Seto replied. "Many do," the innkeeper answered. Seto sat and was served a bowl of rice and clear broth. It tasted simple, comforting.
Other travelers sat quietly nearby. A soldier without armor, a woman holding a folded letter, an elderly man staring into an empty cup. No one spoke. After finishing his meal, Seto reached for his pouch. "How much do I owe you?" The innkeeper shook his head. "We accept no silver here." Seto frowned. "Then what payment do you require?" The innkeeper's eyes were steady. "Only what you are ready to leave behind." Seto felt a chill, though the room was warm. The soldier stood first. He placed an invisible weight on the table. Though no blade was seen, Seto somehow knew it was a sword. It vanished. The woman unfolded her letter. The ink slowly faded. She exhaled deeply. The elderly man closed his eyes. His shoulders relaxed, as though something heavy had lifted. Seto's chest tightened. "What is this place?" he whispered. The innkeeper replied calmly, "A resting place between burdens."
Seto lowered his gaze. He knew what he carried. Years ago, he had betrayed a friend, not with violence, but with a choice. Profit over loyalty, trust broken quietly. He gained silver, he gained success, but something within him had grown restless. The innkeeper placed a small mirror before him. "Look," he said. Seto leaned forward. The reflection showed a younger version of himself, counting coins while his friend stood in silent disappointment. The memory was clear, undeniable. "I cannot change what has passed," Seto whispered. "No," the innkeeper replied, "but you may change what follows." "What must I leave behind?" Seto asked. "Leave behind the excuse," the innkeeper said gently. "Carry responsibility instead." The words were steady, not harsh. Seto closed his eyes. "I will return," he said quietly. "I will repay what I owe, not only in silver, in truth." The mirror cleared. His reflection returned, lighter. The innkeeper nodded once. "Then your road is clear." The lantern flickered, the room softened, and when Seto opened his eyes, he stood alone on the mountain path. Morning light cut through thinning mist. No inn, no lantern, only the open road ahead. Years later, Seto became known not for wealth, but for fairness. He sought out the friend he had wronged. He restored what he could. He did not hide from his past. And though he crossed the mountain many times after, the mist never felt heavy again. Travelers still speak of the inn at the edge of the fog. It appears only to those ready to release what weighs upon them, and disappears once they are willing to walk forward freely. And now, our final story rests. A well that held grief, a blossom that bloomed in winter, an inn that appeared in mist.
If anything in your heart feels heavy, you do not have to carry it tonight. Let it rest. Breathe slowly. Let your thoughts soften. The road will still be there in the morning. Sleep gently. Good night.